So it turns out 4 was the number of touchdowns the Buccaneers would beat the Packers by. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to another episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. Yeah, this one hurt. Grossi. And today we will be breaking down the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defeating the Packers 38-10. Before we get to that, I want to do a big shout out and thank you to some brand new patrons and YouTube members. First, on the Patreon side of things, we have, I can't believe I have to read this stupid name out loud, Jim B hates baby endangered ivory-beaked woodpeckers, Junior Disney Forever, 802 Fisherman, and Eli F. A big shout out and thank you to you. And finally, over on the YouTube side of things, we have Auto Circus, Just a Normal Person, Scott Hack, we have Patrick Surf, Kill Hut 702, and Michael Waters. A big shout out and thank you to you all. So, what was supposed to be America's Game of the Week turned out to be America's Dumpster Fire of the Week, as the Green Bay Packers had a really nice first quarter. Just don't watch the rest of the game if you were a Packers fan. So the Packers had a 10-point lead in the first quarter. And even Rodgers came out in the press conference after this and said, like, even with that 10-point lead, we didn't feel like we were in rhythm, that we really weren't getting anything going. The running game was kind of stagnant. And after that 10-point lead, the Buccaneers responded with 38 unanswered points. So Rodgers wound up throwing his third pick six of his entire career, and then the following drive threw another interception, which was almost another pick six that was off the hands of Davante Adams. And this game was honestly just a nightmare from the second quarter on for the Packers. Not only did they blow this lead, but on top of that, their offense couldn't do a single thing today. They could not block that pass rush to save their life. David Bakhtiari wound up getting injured. Thankfully, his chest injury is not deemed as serious by Coach LaFleur. But Rodgers struggled today. Not only did he miss some throws, obviously, but on top of that, he was on his back constantly. Packers came into this game only allowing, I believe it was 3 or 4 sacks all year, and they let up 4.5 sacks today. The Packers just had no answers for it. Rodgers had one of his worst games in quite some time, 16 for 35, 160 yards, and 2 interceptions. This was his first 2 interception game since 2017. Jones on the ground, 10 for 15 with 1 touchdown, and then taking a look at who else was able to rush. Dillon did 31 yards and Williams was 34. So there was no rushing game to speak of whatsoever. In addition, Adams was targeted 6 times and got 61 yards. Did look off, whether that is because of the rust from being out, whether it's still a nagging injury. Yeah, things didn't look right with that. And it just seemed like on the offensive side of the ball, there was just no rhythm at all. It seemed that anytime that there was like a positive play, then the Buccaneers would destroy our souls the very next one. We punted 7 times tonight. It was just ugly all around. And on the defensive side of the ball, listen, one was a pick six. That wasn't the defense's fault. The second interception, we gave them a really, really short field to defend. But after that, Brady had all day to throw. There was no pressure whatsoever. Now, it's important to note that Kevin King obviously was out and wasn't playing today. On top of that, Savage wound up getting injured. But we did not sack Tom Brady at all. And he literally could just take his time and be like, yep, I'm going to throw it. Gronkowski had his best game this season because, again, the Packers weren't able to do anything. Gronk, 5 for 78 and 1 touchdown. Brady, 17 for 27, 166 yards and 2 touchdowns, so he had an efficient day. And Ronald Jones, 23 for 113 and 2 touchdowns. So that's very disappointing considering that we have Kenny Clark back and our run defense was still pretty non-existent. So now where does that leave us? The Green Bay Packers are now second in the NFC North behind the Bears, which is disgusting and gross. And here's the outlook on it. We're 4-1 right now. We got punched in the mouth, right? This kind of was reminiscent of the 49ers game last year or the Chargers game, but at least, we had a lead in this one for 1 quarter. But Rodgers even came out and said that, listen, sometimes you need a little kick in the ass, right? To kind of, you're talking, you're full of yourself, you're thinking you're all that, and here you go. Here's a team that literally just put you in your place, and that's exactly what happened today. The offense for the Buccaneers, they were efficient, they played really well, they took a lot of time off the clock, they were able to rebound after a 10-point deficit, and the defense made our life a living hell. Now, that being said, I do not think the sky is falling. I think that these bad games are going to happen. There are going to be ebbs and flows throughout the season. You look at a team like the Ravens, who got their ass kicked by the Kansas City Chiefs a few weeks ago, and look, now they're blowing out bad teams left and right. No one thinks that the Ravens season is going to be over, even though today they almost got beat by the Eagles. Let's not talk about that. And so the important thing is you have the Houston Texans next week, which I think will be a good game and potentially a shootout. You know, if you looked at how they competed with the Titans today, they were really, really close, went into overtime, and they were very, very competitive because now that they finally got rid of Bill O'Brien, now they decide, oh, mate, maybe we can play well now. And everyone's saying, oh, look, the Packers should have drafted a wide receiver. That wide receiver would not have helped the offensive line or the defensive line get any pressure. So I don't think that would have mattered today. It really kind of didn't matter who you put on that field because the Buccaneers were just an overall better team today. And that's going to happen. But the sky isn't falling yet. We're still 4-1. There's a lot of season still left to play. It's just this one, yeah. This one was a punch in the gonads. Another thing that people were saying was like, how are the Bears able to beat this team? Listen, the Bears have a good defense, right? They also were at home on a short week, and the Buccaneers had a bunch of injuries, and that's not taking anything away from the Bears. That's just realistic. So right now, honestly, it doesn't matter. What's going to matter is where we're going to be come week 17, and I think we're going to be in much better shape, hopefully, than how we were for 3/4 of this game today. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Rodgers said that he doesn't think that this is the start of a pattern or anything like that, but I want to know your thoughts. You think this is the descent of the Green Bay Packers? Are we freaking out over one game already in the beginning of the year? Or are we being level-headed and going, there's still plenty of season left? Let me know. You can always find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or at TomGrossiComedy, all social media, see down below. Check out Patcast on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, and of course YouTube. And a big shout and thank you to all the patrons over at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy and the YouTube members. But thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.